All eyes on me. AOA podcast Monday episode. We're back at it. Last we left you, no war in Iran. We come back after the weekend, war in Iran. So we'll give you the update on where we stand with that. I know just a few moments ago, there was another attack from Iran. And like I said, we'll give you the full update and rundown on the Iran situation. Leading off the episode, though, of course, the Bill and Hillary Epstein testimonies. Massive happenings here. We'll cover everything that is of significance. They each testified for like over 8 hours. So a lot of footage to comb through, but we got all the good clips for you here. The Nancy Guthrie streamers are getting out of control. Can you believe this? The streamers, the people that are just by her home streaming, are getting out of hand. Speaking of out of hand, Jim Carrey. Have you been following this viral thing with Jim Carrey on whether or not he went to the Caesar Awards in France or not? I'm going to play it all out for you there. Justin Timberlake is suing Sag Harbor. Meghan Markle is at it again. And if this Warner Brothers Paramount merger goes through, we will get a HBO Paramount Max Plus flicks. Now, I'm contributing this name because I think it's only appropriate for HBO Max. However, that's not what they've signed off on. So I don't know what they're going to go with, but they are going to combine those two services. So we'll talk about what that means and what impact it'll have on you and your little streaming services that you already pay for. All that and more coming up on this episode. Okay, the Clinton Epstein testimony from I think it was here in New York. The fine folks of our Congress went and sat with them. You'll notice that all these clips are watermarked with the GOP Oversight Committee. I find that to be fairly interesting. But I'll play you some, and we'll start with one that we've already discussed, which was Hillary Clinton storming off after she learned that Lauren Boebert was sharing photographs online. Take a listen to the former Secretary of State.
All right.
Excuse me, can I interrupt?
I have
there
another
are photos that are being released of the secretary as she is testifying from inside this room. Can you please advise me as to whether or not that's permissible and consistent with the rules, particularly given that we have asked for a public hearing? If there are photos that are being released of the secretary as she is testifying, can you please explain how that
I'm done with this. If you guys are doing that, I am done. You can hold me in contempt from now until the cows come home. This is just typical behavior.
We will go off the record.
Oh, for heaven's
So I would like
sake.
to understand how that's permissible.
Before the hearing was,
It doesn't
Excuse
matter.
me.
We all are abiding by the same rules.
I will take that down.
Yeah,
So
well,
I would like to take a break at this moment.
yeah,
I'd like to have
I'm
a
done
conversation.
for now.
Go off the record. Go off the record.
There you go. So I can't tell you how many times over the course of my school career I've had a teacher go, "I am done. I am done with you." Just like that, banging the desk and pointing and all sorts of craziness. I've had many a teacher do that. Many a teacher to do that. Seems kind of trivial and stupid and silly. The whole thing, why Lauren Boebert would send those photos out, why she would get so upset. If you ask for a public thing, what difference does it make? You know the video is coming out, so who cares if a photo leaks? I don't really get most of that kind of interaction, but yeah, it is what it is. So that was the first clip that I wanted to just share with you guys, because again, we had talked about that on a previous episode, so thought it would be worthwhile starting there. There's plenty of little explosive moments and little things to read in between the lines on. So let's bring up the next clip, which we thank ACYN on Twitter for clipping this little section from Hillary Clinton. I guess we'll do all the Hillary first, and then we'll do the Bill stuff first. I did find it interesting that she had a heated exchange with Nancy Mace here. Let's take a listen to this clip, make it nice and big for everybody so we can get into it. Nancy Mace declaring that she was a victim of abuse in the past And she locked horns with Hillary Clinton here.
Very much about.
By the way, is this a good time to say that I am not, what does the kids say? Suicidal. I'm in good health. I can swim. The brakes on my car were just surfaced not that long ago. Can I just put all this stuff out there before we play all these Clinton clips? I just throwing it out there. I feel great. I'm in a good mental space. I'm happy. Also want to say I have 2 kids that rely on me and my income for the rest of my life. So just putting all these things out there. I'm just want to put all these things out there. Just
At all.
And then how do you know Howard Lutnick?
I know Howard Lutnick because when I was senator on 9/11, the firm he headed, Cantor Fitzgerald, suffered the greatest loss of life. As I recall, something like 650 of his employees were murdered by terrorists that day. Howard Lutnick missed being a victim because he was delayed dropping his child off to kindergarten. You asked the question. I'm going to answer your question.
Now you're going to.
This was what I spent my time doing.
I'm a survivor trying to look out for other survivors.
And I was taking care of the people who lost 3,000 lives.
And now you're being
at World
defiant
Trade
and
Center.
indignant today.
You asked me
I have
about
met
Howard
with Epstein
Lutnick.
survivors. I'm a survivor myself. You have emails. You denied that Jeffrey Epstein, that you tried to get Jeffrey Epstein to give money to you.
I did
but
not.
Howard Lutnick was
If you have an
using
email
money.
with me asking Jeffrey
I
Epstein
have
for
an
money,
email from Howard Lutnick sending it to Jeffrey Epstein and his people to raise money
I
for
don't
you.
know about
An event, an intimate event for you at his offices
Well,
at Cantor Fitzgerald. You're going to sit
if
here
you-
today
if you would let me finish.
obfuscate and say to this committee, you didn't try to get money from Jeffrey
I didn't.
Epstein. When
I
there was an
didn't.
intimate event in an email that Howard Lutnick emailed to Epstein's people and Epstein to get him to come to your intimate event at Cantor Fitzgerald, a very small event. And so I'm not going to put it. If you want to yell at me, that's fine, but I'll yell right back.
Well,
okay? I'm looking out for
it's
survivors.
very-
I'm doing the job that you would not do and refuse to do as Secretary of State. Thank you, and I yield back to
No,
Allison.
I'm going to finish answering the question, which I have a right to do.
I'd play the rest of the clip for you here, but she just meanders on about what she was trying to say, which she talked to Howard Lutnick about post 9/11 Cantor Fitzgerald business. I found it interesting, though, that her lawyer passed her a note, probably said, calm down. You're losing your shit. Calm down. Take it easy. Nancy Mace is referencing an email that was in the Epstein files with Howard Lutnick talking about having to raise money for Hillary Clinton. She obviously denies all of that. Whether or not Howard Lutnick was making this up or not, your guess is as good as mine. But I'd like to see Howard Lutnick back on the witness stand here and having to testify, because so far there's a common theme here. And you could run it from the Clintons, Hillary and Bill, to Howard Lutnick, all the way to Bill Gates. They all did nothing wrong. They all only met the guy once for 3 minutes, and everybody, their families were around. Everything was fine until we go through the emails, and then we find out that that's not true. And then they give you, oh, well, but yeah, there's a little bit more. But I still didn't do anything wrong, right? They're all doing the same stuff. So credit Nancy Mace here for putting the screws to Hillary Clinton and doing the due diligence that one needs to do in these situations. This is the only way we're going to get more information, is to have her say something. Great. Then you go back to Howard Lutnick and then you have him testify on it. Great. And then depending on what he says, you continue to move along and so on and so forth. And then you match what they say under oath against what you have as far as the evidence goes from the files and what we can authenticate and not authenticate. And then you can tell whether or not somebody is really lying, protecting somebody else, telling the truth. I mean, this is exactly how an investigation should be going. So definitely would love to see what Howard Lutnick has to say about all of this. And we'll continue on to the next Hillary Clinton clip here. I will say the Bill Clinton stuff is a tad more interesting, which is why we're saving it for last as far as this topic goes. Appreciate everybody for joining us. Make sure you hit the like button. It helps our algorithm, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube Live, whether you're watching on Instagram Live. Like it, heart it, share it. Please share it to your Instagram stories, share it to your Twitter account, share it to your Facebook account. You know, we've been getting tampered down and shadow banned since
alleging
we've been
you and
talking
others.
about all of this stuff. So every little bit of help that you guys can provide certainly will, again, continue to bring this to light and help, hopefully, some justice for these poor little victims. Let's take a listen to this next clip here from Secretary Clinton.
2017 speeches and interviews, you described Pizzagate as a baseless conspiracy theory, alleging you and others ran a child sex trafficking ring from a Washington pizzeria basement. Have you reviewed any 2025-2026 Epstein files that were released that you believe reference or relate to those specific 2016 claims regarding the Podesta emails, Comet Ping Pong Pizza used as code, possibly?
I'm sorry. Does
You're
this
asking
relate-
her about whether
Excuse me.
she's reviewed emails in the Epstein files, which relate to the wacky Pizzagate
You
scam.
could characterize it however you want. I just would like to know if she's familiar with any of them.
So,
Please
excuse me,
comment to-
your question is about whether or not she has reviewed any emails in the Epstein release files
Mhm.
about Pizzagate.
Correct.
Pizzagate was totally made up. It was an outrageous allegation that ended up hurting a number of people, that caused a deranged young man to show up with his assault rifle and shoot up a local pizzeria. I can't believe you're even referencing it. You should be.
There are connections to the language.
Well,
I'm
the
not talking
QAnon
about-
people believe there are, so
I don't know what
have
QAnon
at
people
it.
believe.
Have at it.
But you've accused certain parties, and I think even right now today, of promoting slow walking or information in ways that fuels conspiracies. In your view, did any Epstein Maxwell related investigations or file handling pre or post 2019 contribute to or intersect with the spread of Pizzagate style theories about Democrat figures?
Objection.
I have no way of answering. That is the most
speculation.
ridiculously.
Have you or your representatives identified any Epstein file content that has been misinterpreted online to revive those claims? And what steps, if any, have you taken to clarify?
Again, object to the ground of.
I think that this is all very
Speculation.
reasonable.
Well, first of all, I don't follow the crazy conspiracy stories that are online. I regret that anybody does. I find it quite sad, but also disturbing that people would believe some of what is put forth, like Pizzagate. So I have taken no steps to review anything
Do you
that
think
might
pizza-
have any connection to something which I think is totally bogus.
Pretty standard, pretty checks out compared to what the rest of the government's doing about all this Epstein stuff. Haven't taken any more steps to look at it. The Pizzagate thing was utterly ridiculous. I'm on record on this podcast as saying how stupid and dumb the guy to go there and shoot the place, all that stuff. And then we got all these latest releases where they are literally referencing clearly young girls as pizza. I mean, it wasn't born out of nothing. Like the fact that there was a pizzeria in Washington, D.C. with a basement where this was happening is false. But it wasn't the craziest QAnon theory because it was literally born out of these sick individuals discussing women as pizza. You can go through the emails. There's searches now. You can search all of Epstein's emails. And if you search pizza, you'll see there's lots of references of food as a nickname for these young girls. It's all over the files. So that's one thing where QAnon kind of got it right. And this goes back to, was that a psyop from Epstein? Because we now know that Epstein, Ghislaine, and Moot, the guy who started 4chan, where all this QAnon stuff started, did have correspondence with each other. We know that to be a fact. Why it was all put out there and how and what it was supposed to do to us, that all I'm not so sure about. But one thing I can tell you is I was wrong about the Pizzagate thing. Again, regarding that they used pizza as a term for children. What's not wrong is that this was all in a basement in a Washington, D.C. pizza. That was not correct. But it's kind of crazy that we have come this. What is more 2026 than us all having to apologize to the crazy QAnon nut jobs? You know, I mean, literally, it seems kind of nuts, but that's where we've come. That's why this information was so important. It brought us full circle as far as the Pizzagate thing goes. And Hillary is consistent with the rest of our government. I didn't do anything to look into it. I don't know. Of course not. Why would you want to expose your friends and your pals who have given you money and done all those things? Again, I'm in a good mental health space. My car just passed inspection. I just want everybody to know that. I'm going to continue to remind everybody that. I also have 2 small children that rely on my income for their survival. So I'm not saying anything. I just want this information out there. I swim really well. It's awfully cold in New York. There is no reason I'll go swimming anytime before June. Just also want to add that to the list. I don't know what else I can say. I cook all my own food. So, you know, keep that in mind too. If I just show up dead one day, I'm not going to point fingers, but elbows is another, but I'm not pointing fingers. I would never do that. I would never do that. The Bill Clinton stuff is a bit crazier. You know, the Bill Clinton stuff is a bit crazy. I'm not going to go through every last one of them, but there's a couple of clips here that are fairly long. And I want to play it for you because A, I don't really believe Bill Clinton. And B, he looks like shit. Like this, I can't help but think that this is all this stuff is kind of taking a toll on him, which why wouldn't it? Again, you listen to just the words on the surface and he's completely innocent and there's nothing wrong and he didn't do anything. But when you kind of look at it all, like I don't know. You tell me. That's why we play the clips for you. You tell me if it's unsettling. I just think he looks like shit. It's a little unsettling. Let's see. Here, let's pick it up from Nancy Mace questioning former President Bill Clinton.
Witnesses who testified in the Epstein cases that Epstein said, you quote, like them young. Why would Epstein say that about you?
Are you asking his opinion? You're asking him to think about why Mr. Epstein would say something about him?
Why would Epstein say that
So
about
she's asking you
president?
to try to be in Mr. Epstein's mind and guess at what Mr. Epstein would have thought about.
First of
Clinton
all,
likes them.
You got to love the lawyers. You know what I'm saying? You got to love the lawyers just hopping in and doing the lawyer things. Now, in one instance, I think this lawyer, I don't know who the lady is, but she does save, I don't know if it's this clip or the next clip. She does save a falsehood from getting out there. However, if you were really innocent and you had nothing to, I understand lawyers need to be at depositions. And the gentleman to Bill's right later on stops him from saying more than he has to say, which to me is a sign of somebody who's innocent. I'm not saying that this is the case. Because I also think it's possible to have a true trained professional liar know what makes you look innocent and implement those tricks in these sort of depositions. But all that being said, again, just kind of take note at how the question is proposed and how his lawyers just jump all over it.
Young, referring to girls.
first of all, that's not true.
What's not true?
That I have any interest in underage.
I didn't say underage. I said young.
But it's still not true.
Is an intern young?
Yes.
Okay.
At my age, anybody younger than I
Did
am.
you
is
know
young.
Jeffrey Epstein instructed a witness to deny you were ever on his island?
He didn't have to since I was never there.
Okay. That was a professional question about the young girls. And then she slipped in, is an intern young? Like, did he just not pick up on what the inference was there? Or is he just an idiot being totally naive or pretending like it was totally okay that he had an affair in the Oval Office? What was your interpretation of that? Comment below. Because that was the whole young thing. He's like, well, underage girls. Well, what about you? I didn't say underage. What about young? Well, yeah. Is it intern young? Well, everybody, what? Clearly, he walked right into that setup. And then the shaky cup. He looks shaky throughout. Obviously, he's elderly. People get shaky in their old age, but I don't know. That was a little telling to me. Again, we're talking to somebody that is not innocent. We know this dude had affairs. We know this dude put women into compromising positions. We know it. There's countless testimony and accusations and all sorts of stuff in this guy's fucking closet. And he's sitting there like, poor little me, I didn't do anything wrong. Look at Trump. Which I'm not deterring you from looking at Trump. I think that Trump should be investigated. I think there's enough to reopen an investigation on the current sitting president. But that doesn't take away from this guy also being troublesome as far as the Epstein files go.
Did you ever travel to Zorro Ranch?
Is that the one in New Mexico?
Yes.
No.
Okay. Have you ever flown on anyone else's private jet 26 times or more for overseas trips?
I have flown as many miles on other jets, but never with as many stops.
How many other people's planes have you used?
That's the problem when you're traveling with young kids. They always have to stop. It's always, I got to go to the bathroom, or I need a break, a nap. That's the problem. I'm not saying anything, but I'm just saying. I am also of sound mind and body, and I feel really good, very happy, positive spirits all around. Keep that in mind.
Like Epstein 26 times or miles, etc.
I don't know. I did with Steve Bing, who's now deceased, and probably with 4 fellows.
How did he die?
So maybe about a half dozen billionaires total. So how many dinners did you have with Ghislaine Maxwell or Jeffrey Epstein in attendance?
She's asking to the best of your recollection.
I have no idea.
Okay. Did you ever discuss sexual misconduct allegations made against you with Epstein or Maxwell?
Never.
Did Epstein or Maxwell ever offer to help manage or silence women who made sexual misconduct allegations against you?
No.
Did Epstein or Maxwell ever offer financial support directly or indirectly to legal defense funds related to impeachment proceedings or civil actions against you?
Not to my knowledge.
Do you think a young girl massaging a president is unusual?
So are you asking his opinion?
Well,
You're
he was
asking his
massaged by
opinion?
a young woman. I'm asking if he thinks it's unusual that a president, sitting president of the United States, leader of the free world, that
So I'm
it's
sorry.
unusual.
Are you speaking to? Are you talking to the instance of the?
Yes.
So she clears it up here, but I love that. Do you think it's weird for a president to get a massage from a young girl? And she's like, are you asking his opinion? I don't know. Yes. I'm asking a fucking question. How about I get an answer? Now she slips up because she says sitting president. He was not a sitting president at the time. We've all seen that photo where he's in an airport, they're on a layover or whatever it is, or the plane's getting serviced or whatever was happened. And there's a young girl. She's not underage. I think we were able to verify that in the past, but she's giving him a massage. Again, nothing inappropriate in that instance, but it feels so wrong given the context of anything and everything else that surrounds this guy. So here they bicker back and forth for a minute there on the context.
So
Which is
the
important.
back massage that occurred while he was not president. I'm just trying to understand. You said a president of the United States.
Former president.
Thank you. Just trying to make sure we're correcting the
Are you
time frame.
filibustering?
No, I don't need
Okay.
to. I'm actually trying to make
I
sure
think
that
I'm
as
pretty
you
clear. He said
you
was
said he
young-
was a sitting president.
He's taking a lot of wobbly sips.
You said a sitting president. I want you to be clear so that when he answers
former
you,
sitting
the
president. How
record
do
is
you want
clear.
to do it? Is it unusual?
I have no idea if it's unusual.
Objection calls for speculation.
I figured. Do you ever?
So he's about to answer. I have no idea if it's unusual, and the other attorney objects in the middle, like stops him from making a mistake of answering that question honestly, because yes, it's inappropriate. Of course it's inappropriate. And given the context around Epstein and the flights and the young girls that he had around him all the time, it's 1,000,000% inappropriate. It's 1,000,000% inappropriate. And it sucks that we can't get a fucking honest answer out of these depositions because of all this goddamn lawyer speak. But obviously, anybody with a brain in their friggin' skull knows that that's inappropriate. Doesn't matter if the girl's 18, 19, 21, 23, 24. It doesn't fucking matter. She's 50 years his junior on a flight with a known predator and child trafficker. I mean, yes, of course it's inappropriate. It is inappropriate.
Did you ever think that all these women around Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell was odd, unusual, weird, or creepy?
There weren't all that many around when I was there.
How many would you say is not all that many?
I think on this big plane that was working long hours, having 2 to 4 people on there, I thought was, as far as I knew, they were all helping.
I mean, that you know when somebody is so enthralled. Okay, like you ever come across somebody who gives you racist vibes, but they're not saying racist things at the moment, but you know what they're saying is like born out of like, I'm totally racist, but I'm giving you like the politically correct thing right now because I'm. Do you ever, you know that feeling? You know when somebody's done something so wrong for the longest time? What's another good example? Okay, let's say, for instance, maybe you know a couple where there's a lot of verbal abuse. There's no physical abuse, but there's a lot of verbal, mental abuse, unhealthy situation. And the guy will be like, well, I don't hit my wife. You know, I mean, granted, she doesn't get dinner on the table on time. And sometimes I have to put her in her place, but I'd never hit my wife. You ever have a conversation like that with somebody and you're just kind of like, what the? Where they're like admitting to something, they're like, I don't do this, but this is okay. And you're just like, both of these are not okay. Both of these are in the not good zone. That's what this is. Did you find it weird that there were young girls around this guy all the time? Well, there weren't a lot of people. Well, what's a lot of people? 2 to 4? If there was a 50-year-old man flying around with 4 18-year-olds, who is not going to find that uncomfortable and creepy? Who? People that are used to it. That's who. Ooh. We don't point fingers, Aunt. We point, and we don't point anything. This isn't elbow pointing, just to clarify. I am in a good mental space. My brakes were just checked on my car, passed inspection in New York State. Shit, it said people where I lived. Fuck. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? You're not wrong, Walter. You're just an asshole. I'll take it. I'll take it because I didn't think it was crazy to have 4, 19-year-old masseuse in training on the fucking plane. You didn't? You didn't because you're a fucking creeper and you've been cheating on your wife since God knows when, and you forced yourself on how many fucking people, and you were caught in the greatest intern sexual relations scandal in the history of our country. Since they finally get that Trump intern to talk, the girl, the secretary, whatever, that's bubbling up on the surface. Not TDS. I'm just pointing it out. I'm just saying it's the biggest one right now. Not to say that we're not going to get bigger ones. But the whole thing, I mean, him coming from, well, I didn't think it was weird. No. I appreciate the honesty, but I think you're kind of letting it out there that you're a fucking creeping weirdo, and that anybody of right mind would have been like, why isn't that girl in school? Why is she on this plane? And listen, I understand Washington, D.C., there's interns, there's young people in Washington. Like Washington, D.C. is one of those areas that, like, same thing with New York City. It's fueled by young people. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those just intense cities, politics, business, all that stuff. It's really, I get it. I get there's a lot of young people in positions and everything like that. So I understand that there's maybe an argument of legitimacy here, but for the most part, come on. We've all seen the videos of Epstein. We've seen the photographs. Is that comfortable for anybody? I mean, I know it's a little Monday morning quarterback knowing what we know now, but I mean, come on.
Flight attendants in tank tops and jeans, right?
No,
Do you believe you were a victim of a Jeffrey Epstein intel operation?
Great question.
Do you think that you might have been like caught up in some of what he was maybe potentially doing?
Excuse me, Congressman, which question are you asking?
I'm asking
Intel
if the-
operation?
first of all, I don't
some type of intel operation. I'm just curious because it's been speculated on today and yesterday
understand.
that he may have been an intel asset. Do you think, perhaps knowing what we know now, the proclivity of it all, that he may have been targeting you as part of an intel operation?
I doubt it.
I doubt it. That's because he was. That's because he was to everybody. I don't know if anybody knows who the real Jeffrey Epstein is besides Ghislaine Maxwell and maybe one other, maybe his brother. I don't know. I don't even know if his brother knew. I'm a little more skeptical of the brother recently, having seen some of the emails that have come out. But, you know, because we've kind of relied on him to be some sort of insight for us. But some of the emails in the Epstein files that were released, the latest 2 batches with the brother, not great. Not great looks for the brother. But it's a telling answer from Bill Clinton. And you know, it's interesting. Like, you can see, I feel like he knows when to tell the God's honest truth and when not to. Now, his lawyers probably don't want him. He just say as little as possible, as fast as possible. That's how you don't get yourself in trouble when you're lying about shit, right? When you're totally honest, you have no problem throwing stuff out there. I mean, it's really hard to get tripped up. Not saying that it doesn't happen, but it's really hard to get tripped up on shit if you legit did nothing wrong. But this is why he's got lawyers there protecting him, because did he? Did he not? I'm sure they didn't ask. I'm sure these two. This just looks weird. Like I'm trying to I'm sure these two never asked if he was lying or not. They don't want to know. I think that's how lawyers do it. I think lawyers, in order to defend you, they don't really ask, hey, did you really do this or not? I just think that they try and avoid that as much as possible. That makes it harder to sleep at night.
In 2019, you stated, after he was arrested, I guess this would be the second time, you stated you knew nothing of Epstein's, quote, terrible crimes since you only met, quote, briefly on only, quote, 2 occasions. Was this statement false?
Excuse me, Congressman.
That's not an accurate statement. Can you please share us what you said?
Yes. In 2019, as reported by the media, which
so it cuts off there, but he said that. He said it. They all said it. They all said, I only met him a couple times. He might have been at a party I was at. We spoke briefly. We only had one dinner. One dinner for Bill Gates turned into like 3 overnight stays because he was trying to get money. The wealthiest man on earth, who cannot give his money away, was trying to get money from this guy, from Epstein, to help his philanthropy. Because we all believe that, right? And he said the same thing. I didn't. Then we found out you've been on the plane 26 times. You know, I didn't know Ghislaine Maxwell. Then we found out she was at Chelsea Clinton's wedding. Granted, according to Hillary, recently, she was a +1 from somebody else. But that that gives you a little leeway in my book, but not much. You're still socializing with somebody who socialized with Ghislaine Maxwell. You know, I went and checked all the footage from my family affairs. I looked at my wedding video. I looked at both my kids' christening and communion videos. Ghislaine Maxwell wasn't there. Neither were any other pedo protectors. I make sure not to have those on my fucking guest lists. Okay? Especially people in positions of power. I think you need, there should be some screening. By the way, you don't get into an event with the former president of the United States without getting checked out. So they knew full well that she was there. And I know this because I participated in an event where it was a high likelihood and possibility that Bill Clinton was going to show up. He did indeed show up. And the organization that I was raising funds for, had to submit all of our names to the Secret Service so they could check it out. Now, again, it's all like, this was a charity softball game that I took part in for a number of years. It's one that he attended years before I got involved. And then there was this idea that he might come and pop in and say hello to lend his support. By the way, this was all prior to this Epstein stuff. Well, I think one of the visits was he wound up visiting a second time, but I don't think I was there. I kind of sound like Bill Gates at this point, but this is all true. You can check this all out. But my point is, it was a public event, so they couldn't tell who was going to be in the stands because anybody could come, but they still did their due diligence as the Secret Service. You don't think they did that at Chelsea Clinton's wedding? You don't think that they knew? You think that you could just bring a +1 to the former president's kid's wedding and not declare who that is? Give me a break. Give me a break. Next clip is also very telling, and it goes into the photographs of him at the pool, and those both of those shots, him swimming with Ghislaine Maxwell and him in the jacuzzi with the redacted young lady. And we'll credit Kane Kinoka the Great for putting these two clips together in this wonderful little fashion for us to share with you here.
And what we're trying to get at is some context for the public on whether you remember this photo and any details you may be able to provide us about it. So do you recall the details of this photo, or recall the photo being taken?
No, I don't think I ever knew the photo was taken.
Okay, and for those who can't see it, it's a photo of you in a hot.
That I can believe. That I think that's a true statement. I think I can verify. He probably didn't realize, when you're palling around with pedos, probably a little sensitive. Smart people like this guy, probably a little sensitive to the cameras. So he probably didn't know that there was a camera present.
There's a person next to you here. Do you remember where it was taken? Where was it taken?
I'm almost sure that this taken, I think there's an adjacent photograph, which you probably have, that if people saw it, they would feel that someone was trying to con them showing this picture. But anyway, this picture was taken in Brunei. And we flew one night.
Hang on, I got to put this up because this is a great comment coming from LOL Bird, which, by the way, we already have a bird, but I'll ask first Bird, original Bird, if you're okay with an LOL Bird being here. Oh my God, I've been looking for someone who's investigating this. Thank you so much. Welcome, LOL Bird. Welcome to the fray. Just for your knowledge, and everybody else who might be new to the podcast here, go look at our YouTube channel. We have hundreds of videos on Epstein going all the way back to 2020. Our hardcore friends, you guys are sick of me saying this, but there is literally 2 to 3, maybe even 4, I don't even know how many. There's hundreds of videos of us covering the Epstein information going all the way back to 2020. If you're into this, go to that YouTube playlist and start from number 1, because you are going to hear a boatload of information that you probably couldn't get anywhere else, because we covered every last nook and cranny. And also, please be delicate. I looked really weird back in 2020. It's pandemic. We weren't getting haircuts, so please forgive me. Thank you, Mercury, for being the welcome party. By the way, look at this, putting the Monday, Wednesday, and Friday out there that we're live, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. LOL Bird, make sure you're subscribed. Please hit the like button, hit the share button, help us spread the word, because, of course, we deal with sensitive topics and we get shadow banned. Back to Brooklyn.
On the trip to Asia, the last very long leg.
You said we, who is that including?
Well, my TIL team that was working
Thank you.
on the AIDS issue, and Mr. Epstein was there, and Miss Maxwell. But anyway, we got to the end of the flight was Brunei, It's a tiny place, but a very wealthy one. And the Sultan of Brunei was a man that I had gotten to know well in my 8 years as president. And his first involvement with international matters is basically to join the Asian Pacific Economic Leaders Conference, which I started and which he attended. And then he was very proud of that. And he hosted his town.
Do you know the meme where the guy's like, so we moved to Brooklyn and where my father's brother took, you know that meme? Like, this is, where are you going with this? Just, you knew the guy. That's all you had to say. You knew the guy. We don't have to go into the history of how you knew the guy. Just, it was the Sultan of Brunei's place and he had us over. That would suffice. It's 47 minutes on this whole fucking thing. We just want to know how you wound up in a pool with a naked Ghislaine Maxwell and then you're going to claim that you did nothing wrong. That's all we want to know. That's it.
To host it, you do these things in rotation. And it came either at the very end of my term or maybe the next year. Anyway, he wanted, when he knew I was coming, and he said he wanted to help me with my AIDS initiative, and he invited me to stay there. And he said, I want you to stay at this hotel, and I hope you'll use the pool. So I did.
Are we to believe that the Sultan of Brunei told Bill Clinton, I don't care how fucking close they are, I'd like you to come and stay at this hotel and use the pool? Are we to believe that? Is that? Does anybody believe? Hands up if you believe that. Hands emojis if you actually believe that too. Now, I've been invited to places. I've heard people have said to me, call me, bring the kids. We could go in the pool. Yeah, we can go in the pool. But I've never got an invitation from somebody who said to me, I'd like you to come over and use my pool. That I've never, it's kind of a weird way to say that. Look at the look on his face. He's like, it wasn't my fault. I wasn't going to insult the Sultan of Brunei. I mean, when the Sultan invites you over and tells you to go in the pool, you go in the pool, even though the biggest child trafficker in history and his naked girlfriend are swimming in the water with you. You know, you can't insult the Sultan of Brunei. I mean, that would be crazy. That would be out of bounds.
And then I got out and went to bed exhausted.
Just for the record, there's another picture that also shows this as part of the larger pool area. Do you all have that so that he can refresh his recollection with respect to that?
You should have it. It's quite enlightening. If you watch this,
Yes, it's noted.
it'll
Yes.
give you a different feel.
Thank you.
Okay.
We don't have it with us right now.
Okay.
We do.
Thanks. I just wanted to make sure he knew the.
And so were there other people in that pool or hot tub with you as well?
I don't think there's anybody in the hot tub. I didn't forgotten that there was anybody in the hot tub, but it was big, but it was about.
Well,
He's asking you in the pool
it appears
area.
this photo, there's a girl over here, or there's someone.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
But he's also asking.
I don't know who that is. Sure. No. Why would you remember? This is fine. It's all totally fine. It's not. Yeah. Why would you remember that? Not a big deal. I love how the lawyers if you saw contacts, there would be a larger. Oh, is that going to help you contact? So there's more people around? Is that going to make us feel better? But the former president of the United States swimming with a naked Ghislaine Maxwell in a hot tub with a victim whose face had to be redacted, but there was more people there. Is that going to make us feel better? Is that going to make us go, oh, he's right. I think he goes on to say there's a Secret Service agent there as well. Like that makes me feel any fucking better about it. If anything, that makes me feel like, who's that agent? Put him on the fucking stand. Let him start answering questions. But I'm not totally caught up on Secret Service etiquette or what their legalities are and what they can say and can't say. I'm not entirely sure. But this idea of there were other people there, that doesn't make me feel. And then I was exhausted. I went right to bed afterwards. Yeah, sure you did. Sure. was exhausted. Like every guy who's ever cheated on his wife and got caught in a photo like that was like, yeah, but I just went to bed. Honey, I didn't stay up partying with the guys and go to the strip club afterwards. All those guys did that. That was Charlie and all of them. I went right to bed because I was exhausted. I mean, my back hurts. I wouldn't be in the whole, I mean, the fuck. Yeah, Ms. Justice, this is going to get nominated for line of the episodes. So it wasn't a small orgy; it was a large one, is what you're saying. That should have been the follow-up. Why isn't Ms. Justice in these sessions? Is what I want to know. Because so far Congress is fucking bungling this like crazy. We get Ms. Justice in there to start asking some fucking questions, and we'll get some real goddamn answers. That's a good question. Kudos to you, Ms. Justice, nominated. Thank you for your service. All right, back to this lying asshole. I mean, the former president.
In the pool area where there are other
Yes,
individuals.
I don't know who that is.
Okay, so you don't know?
No, and then there were other people in the pool.
Okay, so do you remember who, were they under 18? Would you
No.
know? No.
Were they part of your traveling party? He's asking you.
Yes, they were, I think. I think everybody there was part of our party. It was late at night or late-ish, and I also believe that there was a Secret Service agent there at the other end of the pool.
Okay, and was this in public?
No, it was a hotel room, and the Sultan wanted us to stay there, and the water of this big pool was on the same floor that there were several suites, and so we went out, I swam around, I sat in the.
So let me get this. Let's get this. Let's just recap. Was this in public? It was on a floor with a bunch of other suites where a bunch of other rich people hang out in a foreign country that was arranged by the Sultan. Nothing creepy. Nothing suspicious there. How dare you? How dare you question the integrity of this man? Was this in a public place where anybody could have wandered by and noticed if something was going wrong? Kind of. It was in a floor where there were only private suites where only rich people that the Sultan arranged for. I give up. And they're all out there going, see, I didn't do anything wrong. Again, if we don't take the time to share these clips with you and go over it, and if you don't take the time to share this episode, how is everybody going to know? How is every Tom, Dick, and Harry that's working for a living, taking their kids to soccer practice and all this shit going to know the truth and nuance? No, all they're going to know is they testified, then they're going to read Hillary Clinton's statement and Bill Clinton's statement, and those two are going to be like, why isn't Trump there? And then that's all people are going to hear on people who watch MSNBC and shit like that. That's all people are going to hear. That's the way the world works. People are too busy to get all the nuance of what's going on here. But if you just spend 4 minutes listening to this crap, you would know it's exactly that. It's crap. It's crap. Miss Justice is on fire, by the way, with her second nominated comment, the Sultan of Cuck. I like that a lot. Love it. Loving it. And listen to Miss Justice and what she says about hitting that like button, hitting the subscribe and share, hit the bell, get the notifications, do all the things that Miss Justice says. I like to keep Miss Justice's comment on the screen, but I have to remove it so that we don't forget what Bill Clinton looks like in a pool with an Epstein victim by himself, from what we can tell. Or in a non-public space with all the other people that were on the Epstein trip, if you will.
Hot tub for 5 minutes, or whatever it was, and I got up and went to bed.
And I have to ask this, did you engage in any sexual activity
No.
with this person? Okay, thank you.
Okay, and that ends this round, and we can go off the record.
I spent 5 minutes in the pool, then I went to bed. And I engaged in no sexual activity on a work trip with a bunch of young women, with my wife not around. You engaged in sexual activity with your wife a couple of rooms away in the fucking White House. Why would we believe this? Why? Somebody help me out here and tell me why. Because I'm dumbfounded. I can't I can't seem to figure that out whatsoever. That makes zero sense to me. Zero. The Iran war. Just some quick updates here for everybody over the situation in Iran. Obviously, when we left you, we knew this was something that was brewing. Saturday, Sunday, the first strikes from Israel and the United States of America. Lots of people putting up clips of President Trump saying that Obama was going to get us into a war with these people to mask things and cover them up. Lots of clips of President Trump saying that he was not going to get us into an endless war, that he was not interested in regime change anywhere, that he was the peace president. He's come back around to have to eat those words. And that's the interesting part about this current administration and President Trump as a politician in general. There's a reason why nobody has taken this sort of attitude, approach, if you will, that he has taken, because being the president of the United States is a complicated thing and you can't predict the future. So you never know when those words are going to come back to bite you in the ass. So that's why a lot of people didn't do the things that this president has done. He's brash. He's off the hip. It's a fresh approach, no doubt about it. But there's a reason why politicians don't speak the way this guy does. Now, I understand that led to him getting a lot of votes, but he's been eating crow the last couple of days. You know, I mean, how could you explain this? Everybody else bring up the fact that he said we had eliminated their nuclear plans, their plants last year in June. Now, all of a sudden we didn't. So there's a lot of back and forth here, and that's why you don't talk the way this guy talks. But that's what got him elected. I bring it up because at the same time, we don't really know what the intelligence agencies saw to have to act now. Don't yell at me. I am awfully skeptical that this is all around the same time as the Epstein files. I don't doubt that there's part cover up here, but again, I'm just Joe Citizen. Technically, I'm Tony Citizen. I don't know what our intelligence agencies know. I am aware of all the flack that Mossad is getting. I am aware of all the shady stuff that's gone on in the intelligence world between the CIA, Mossad, and MI6 and all these other. I get it. I get it. I'm not saying there's not shit abound here, but what I'm saying is these things are complicated. Here's another thing. There's a story out there today that CBS was trying to tamper down a pro-Trump rally in this. Listen, this is a split situation. This is a civil war. Why wouldn't it be? You have Iran and the Iranian people who don't want to be under a religious regime, and you have people who have been drinking that religious regime's Kool-Aid for years and are devastated and upset. You have the people who in Iran or not, who are Iranian, who are thrilled that this son of a bitch is dead. The Ayatollah, that he's dead and gone and can't. I mean, he's done some horrible things. He shouldn't be in power. We agree. And then you have people on the other side that we don't want to have troops on the ground. We don't want to get stuck in another war in the Middle East where we're responsible for a country and we have to figure out who to put in place next. By the way, our track record on who to put in charge, not great. Not great. Not great. We installed, the 79, the Hotchkiss. We installed that, what's his name there? That started all of this. That began this whole trip. Right? I mean, it was a progressive country, Iran, and then we was like, hey, here's the guy in charge. Right? The stories out there, England and the US wanted to nationalize the oil that was in Iran, so they put somebody in place who could help them do that. And then the country revolted, and then we got what we got from 1979 up until this weekend. And we're sitting here and everybody's asking the question, well, who's in charge now? Who comes in place? And our government does not have an answer. Does not have an answer. And what's interesting is the Shah's kid is popping up on 60 Minutes like, hey, I'll take over everybody. I'll help the transition. And people are like, well, who the fuck are you? Well, because my dad was, in it, and I can help. I don't want to be the leader, but I can find the next leader. But you haven't been back in that country since your dad got kicked out. So this is, again, just one of those situations that is, I don't want to say no win, but hard to find a win. Hard to find a clear-cut path to a win. I think most people would all agree that all we could really do is hope for the best, pray for the least amount of U.S. casualties as possible. I mean, Iran has already bombed hotels in other areas. Israel struck a school with killing a whole bunch of kids. So this thing is already a massacre and a mess. But does it work out better in the long run for everybody that you don't have somebody out there just hanging their own people because they're speaking out against the government? Perhaps maybe. Perhaps maybe it winds up playing out that way, but we're not going to know that for quite some time. We're just not going to know that for quite some time. Just about 30 minutes before we started the broadcast, a U.S. embassy in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, was struck by 2 Iranian drones, and there was big explosions. It had already been evacuated, so there were 0 casualties linked to it. However, Iran is not holding back on swinging the bat back our way. There's a lot of that. We've already lost several service members. We've already had a lot of American injuries going on here. And now you have Saudi Arabia. You have all these other areas that aren't sitting back and like, all right, we'll just let America and Israel. Like they're like, hey, if you're going to hit our territory, we're going to hit back. And this is, again, not to be bombastic. And this is how World War III starts, but this is kind of how World War III starts, right? Some country takes exception to what Iran has done in response to the American and Israel joint operations, and they strike back. And then North Korea, China, Russia, like, do they start to get involved? Like, you just wait. Like, that's the thing that you want the least. That's why, all things considered with diplomacy, you build a coalition to do these things ahead of time. It's not something that this current administration has been all that great at. They've not been great at maintaining our friends and keeping them apprised of what's going on. I'd be curious to see if England knew about this. I'd be curious to see France, Greece. Yeah, I mean, I would love to know if these guys knew that this is what we were planning on doing, so that they could be ready. Because again, this is why you build a coalition. This is why you stack people all up in one spot and point at that direction and say they're doing something wrong, and we're all together. We're banding together to fix it. And it's not all on you, because now it kind of feels like it's all on us in Israel. And especially if other countries start reacting and doing different things and planning their own bombings and everything like that. Now, the president spoke to Jake Tapper, spoke to a bunch of people. Everybody's reporting it today. They think it's going to be at least a 4-week campaign. Again, some people are calling it a war. Congress wants to vote on it like it's a war. They're calling it an operation right now. That's how we get away with all these things. That's how you get away with attacking other countries, and by not calling it a war, not having to involve Congress. They let the Gang of Eight know over the weekend. There was mixed reaction on it, on whether it was good or not, and whether or not they should have a vote. I believe they're going to have a vote in Congress on it. So it'd be really interesting to see what happens. Certainly, this administration has taken a lot of L's lately, with the tariffs being struck back, and there's been a lot of, the courts have been ruling against this administration in a lot of different ways. So it'll be interesting to see what Congress says here, and if they can interfere with this at all. And if you're Congress, do you even want to interfere in this? I mean, is it a little too late? Is the toothpaste out of the tube already? Can you stop this 4-week campaign a week and a half into it? Is that going to help anybody's cause? I really don't know. I really, really don't know. But I think we have to do a much better job than we have done on figuring out who is going to take over. because I guess Venezuela is doing okay. I don't know. But Venezuela is certainly not Iran. Like, that is a different situation. Similar, but quite different. I mean, again, you look at what's going on in the streets of Iran. There's people, men and women out there crying over the death of the supreme leader. And then there's other people just throwing a party and a celebration. I believe the majority of the people are throwing a party and a celebration, but it's not like it's 95-5 or 90-10 or 85-15. I think it's like 70-30. 70% of the country celebrating and 30% not. And the problem is the 30%, as they have all the guns and the power and have had in that country since 1979. So you got to be a little concerned there on what's going on. But again, to be honest, same as the attack last year that leveled a lot of the generals and everything else. This Operation Epic Fury, which who's fucking naming these things? Epic Fury. That ChatGPT named that, and you'll never convince me otherwise. It was either ChatGPT or Pete Hegseth, and honestly, both not. I wouldn't. They're both embarrassing. They're both embarrassing choices to be naming operations. Apparently what happened is all these leaders thought that they could get together in one place. I mean, it's not like there were several sites attacked, but for the most part, a lot of them were in a concentrated area. So it becomes that option of, do we take that shot now or do we not? Are we ever going to come into a situation where all these people are together again and we could take out huge chunks of this oppressive government in one shot? I don't know. I have to tell you, you put yourself in these situations, I might take that shot, even though it's not, even though I don't have an imminent threat, even though we've been saying Iran's 2 weeks away from getting a nuclear weapon for the last 40 years. When everybody gets together, when they're cocky enough to think that they could all get together like that and nothing is going to happen, it might be the time to take that shot. You don't know. We just did all the Clinton stuff with Epstein. You look back at it, we found out way after 9/11 that this country knew that Osama bin Laden was a problem and that Bill Clinton had a chance to take him out, but he was at a religious ceremony, a wedding. And that was like not really in the rules of engagement, maybe a war crime. Yeah. So he didn't do it. And now look, if Bill Clinton bends those rules, if he does something slightly unethical and takes out Osama bin Laden, do we not have 9/11? You got to think about that stuff. It's unfair. It's Monday morning quarterbacking, but I mean, it is what it is. That's why being president's a tough gig. And I would say Clinton screwed that one up. I don't know if President Trump wants to be on that. President Trump to me seems like the guy who's going to err on the side of, I'm not going to miss an opportunity. That just seems to be his kind of thing. He shoots from the hip. Planning, also not his thing, which is worrisome. Diplomacy, really not his thing. Very, very worrisome. But he's a shoot first, ask questions later kind of a guy. That's just who he is. You may not be happy with it, but he's in the big chair for the time being. So we'll obviously keep our eye over the Iran situation. Everybody wants to know who's going to be taking over and running that country. It obviously has huge implications. Iran, again, they bombed the U.S. embassy in Riyadh just, a couple hours ago. So it's not like they're not a danger. And let's not ignore this Austin shooting that happened a couple of nights ago where the suspect who was gunned down was wearing some Iranian sympathetic apparel, and as that investigation continues to go on, was that a direct response to it? Again, Iran can't get missiles to the mainland in America, but can their sympathizers have some sort of impact via terrorist attack in our borders? And you have to be worried about that. You just have to be. Who wouldn't be? And again, it's early to speculate about that mass shooting in Austin, but early indicators say the suspect was definitely wearing some clothing that calls it into questioning. We'll have to see, as they do in all these situations when they search the vehicle, which I think they found some stuff in there, but when they search his apartment, when they see what he's been posting online, we'll have a little bit more of a complete picture. So let's not jump to conclusions so far, but certainly we attack in the morning, and by that night, there's this terrible tragedy in Austin. It has to raise some eyebrows. You have to ask some of those questions. You have to wonder. And anybody knows, you got to just be a little careful. You can't act like Iranian sympathizers are not going to try and take some matters into their own hands. Of course, it's obviously possible within our borders here in the United States of America. Damn it. There was a good comment. Oh, here we go from Neil. Got to nominate this. Forget Epic Fury. How about Epstein Fury? Do you think they started with Epstein Fury and they went, this is too on the nose. What else could we use besides Epstein? Epic? Oh, Epic is good. We'll go with Epic Fury. That makes more sense. Yeah. That's nominated, Neil. Good for you. Way to go, big dog. The Nancy Guthrie streamers, who knew this was the thing? That's what's weird about our current climate of the internet and podcasting is you have these like people who are just doing a lot of this stuff for attention. Like, I love doing this because we can entertain and inform. Those are two things that for whatever reason I'm passionate about. I don't know why, because I can't dunk a basketball. I suck at cooking. Like, all my other skill sets are not great. Passing along information and cracking stupid jokes about it, that was in my wheelhouse for some reason. I wish I paid better, but whatever. Here we are. That's why I like doing this. I don't really love doing it for the attention. Believe me, I don't like when people are like, boy, those a lot of gray hairs, and that shit, it's not, the attention doesn't really interest me. But some people get into this for attention, and that's what's going on with this Nancy Guthrie case. A lot of people on the internet are talking about it. Whenever we bring it up, it gets a pop. Again, like, we study these things. The stories that we choose are ones that are popular, that people are interested in. That's why we choose those stories. That's why we talk about them. And the Nancy Guthrie thing is one of those situations. And you've got streamers showing up at her home in Tucson, and they're doing these reports, they're doing these episodes, and they're not traditional media. And some of them, like, one was like dressed all like scantily clad. This Kiki, I don't know who Kiki is, but Kiki's all like provocatively dressed. So people are like calling her out for it online, and there's backlash. She says she's doing a true crime episode. Other people are criticizing her. Then other people are defending her. And it becomes this whole feud thing that, again, there's no leads in the Nancy Guthrie story. So today's story is about how all these assholes are causing a problem around her home rather than the FBI is, making progress on finding this poor old lady, Granted, it's hard to find people when your director's getting hammered with the team USA. You know what I'm saying? That's a little difficult. That's a little complicated. FBI says they still don't have any publicly identified suspects at the moment. I suggest that they I get people can go wherever they want. It's a free country, but for Christ's sake, keep the crime scene up then if you got to keep some of these assholes around and keep them separated out from where this poor old lady disappeared from. We have to talk about this Jim Carrey thing. This thing is wacky as all hell. Over the weekend, maybe even before it, it was before. It was like last Wednesday. I see this clip of Jim Carrey. And he's in France getting this Lifetime Achievement Award. And somebody asked him a question about how he gave the whole speech in French. And he gives this whole nice little thing. And I thought to myself, boy, Jim's had some work done. Maybe a little injection in the old cheeks area, looks a little puffy, maybe he, I don't know, it's France. Maybe the brie, gives him a little, brie puffs me up. I get it. I can't have cheese. I explode. And then people started with the conspiracy theories, and they're like, oh, this isn't Jim Carrey. And they're like, his eyes, his cheekbones, it all looks a little odd. It all looks a little strange. It all looks a little weird. And it's hard to argue. Here, let me bring up one of the screenshots for you guys so you can kind of take a look at what I'm looking at here. And pop this up for everybody. Oops. Don't beat me up, people. Okay, there it is. And this is from MAGA Kitty. What a name. What a name. Who says, no, this is not Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey has dark brown eyes for one. This copycat clone creature has light eyes. I've seen a ton of videos where people are comparing the eyes and doing all this stuff. So I'm like, I don't know. And then, it's funny. You listen to the crazy conspiracy theory people, and they're like, it's not him. It's a doppelganger. Jim Carrey was killed years ago. All this kinds of stuff. And then you start to see clips of his latest appearance on Colbert, and this is what he looked like here. And all these things are circulating. You're like, holy crap, this is not the same person. Then I don't even know what you would call it, impersonator known as Alexis. Is this guy, his name is Alexis Stone, I think the name is. He puts a picture up of a prosthetic that he had made that looks exactly like Jim Carrey. Exactly like Jim Carrey. And Alexis Stone, if you look on Instagram, the Alexis Stone is his Instagram. This guy goes around and just impersonates celebrities. Sometimes it's a dead ringer. Sometimes it doesn't look so great. So when I saw that like early yesterday, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. And I even thought, I bet you Jim Carrey was in on it. I bet you Jim Carrey was like, hey, I don't go and accept a lifetime, because Jim Carrey doesn't really accept Lifetime Achievement Awards. That's not his thing. He's been straying away from popular stuff for a long time. He doesn't really want to be a part of all that. So it's a little skeptical that he would go to collect a Lifetime Achievement Award in France, of all places. I mean, nothing against the French, but it's not like a Grammy an Oscar Lifetime Achievement Award. You know what I'm saying? So it was a little suspicious, and he's talking on camera, and he's a little like quiet and reserved, a little goofy like Jim Carrey is, but not as wild and out there as he is. So when I see this artist pop up and say that, oh, it was him, I was like, no, that makes sense. And I thought, I bet you even Jim Carrey was in on it because of what he did during the Andy Kaufman movie. Like, he showed up as Andy Kaufman every day. He wasn't Jim Carrey. He was Andy Kaufman or Tony Clifton. He did the whole bit. And I remember hearing about that. I've talked about this before. I love the idea that he did that just to kind of pay tribute, pay homage, or just to play the character the right way. Whatever reason he did it for. And then I found out years later that they recorded it. And then, of course, we got a documentary on Netflix all about it to show us, which was amazing to see. It was like the first time pre-internet rumors were solved in a post-internet world. Because again, the young kids might not understand this, but for us older people, we remember what it was like to read a rumor in National Geographic or hear something in People magazine. And you just never really know. And then fast forward, it came out in 2003 or 4 or 7 or 10 or whatever it came out. It was like, holy shit, he did do all that. And he did do crazy stuff. So I don't really put it by him. Today, Jim Carrey representatives said this was Jim Carrey. This was not an impersonator. And they left it at that. So now I'm like, well, now I don't know, because I honestly can't trust Jim Carrey. Again, it's the guy who played Andy Kaufman. And go back and watch the documentary of him playing Andy Kaufman in the movie. Like, this seems like something he would do. And then backing it up by having a representative say it was really me is, again, seems like something Jim Carrey would do, even though it wasn't him. I guess we're going to find out next time we see Jim Carrey. But I'm telling you, when this morning started, this story we were going to cover because Alexis Stone had come out and said already. And I was like, oh, that makes more sense. Because we almost did this story last episode, but I wasn't 100% sure. We were just going to do the story as is, like, this is what's happening on the internet in case you haven't heard, with no conclusion, which we try not to do, but sometimes we have to. And then this morning I was like, oh, great. It was Alexis Stone. Totally makes sense now. This all lines up. It wasn't really Jim Carrey. And then Jim Carrey's rep tells people it was. And now I'm like, now we're back to, I don't know. And I don't know if I can believe Jim Carrey. And I don't know if it's, I don't blame Jim Carrey because it's it's all Hollywood bullshit anyway. Like, who cares if he's lying about this? But it's definitely a fun Andy Kaufman-esque thing that he would do. Now his daughter was there. All this stuff. And I was like, would he really go to that trouble to send his daughter with an impersonator? And then I'm like, fucking Andy Kaufman would. Fucking Andy Kaufman would play a bit till the bitter end. There are still Andy Kaufman friends that are like, I'm waiting for that son of a bitch to come around the corner. I still don't believe he died. And I get it. Because again, if you studied the body of work of Andy Kaufman, which if you can't tell, I have, you can't put anything past these son of a bitches. Because they will ride a bit out to the end, which I fucking love. I love it about them. So I don't know what to make of all of this. Tell me what you think. I don't know if we're going to know until we see Jim Carrey again, and we'll know if his cheeks look like that. His eyes definitely didn't match up, for me. Again, if I was the impersonator, you would think he would commit to contacts that would change his eye color to make it match. And then again, I go back to, but maybe Jim Carrey didn't want him to commit all the way. So there will be because this right now, this doubt, this back and forth in my mind, that's what I think makes Jim Carrey laugh. That's what made Andy Kaufman laugh. So I kind of feel like this is all an elaborate bit and maybe the start of a bit. Who knows who's going to show up at the next 7 award shows over the next 23 years, whether it's going to be actual Jim Carrey or not. You know what I'm saying? But damn, I hope we find out one day. Hope somebody's rolling tape on it so we can fucking figure it out in the long run, because it is going to drive me crazy. Not as crazy as not knowing who's pulling all the strings behind the Epstein stuff, but kind of almost as much, because I'd like to know what's really happening. And I don't know if we're going to get that with Jim Carrey. Really feels like we're not going to get it with the Epstein shit. Justin Timberlake, your old pal Ann, is at the gateway to the Hamptons, for those of you who are unfamiliar. Done radio out here for years, very familiar with the eastern end of Long Island and the Hamptons and Sag Harbor, one of the towns where Justin Timberlake was arrested for DWI. Was that last year or the year before? It's kind of hard to tell now. They all blend into one. Justin Timberlake today, it got out that he is suing the town of Sag Harbor, or the village of Sag Harbor, so that they don't release the body cam footage of his arrest. Why wouldn't they want that? Because he's embarrassed that he was tanked? Because he went out to Sag Harbor and made this whole to-do and said he was going to do community service or whatever the hell he was going to do, because he's trying to save his career, because it was probably blatantly obvious that he was driving drunk, allegedly. Don't sue me, Justin Timberlake. I know you got your lawyers out there working. But the village is like, we want to be transparent. And his lawyers are like, that's not transparency. I don't think so. Which is so amazing to me. In the era of Epstein, we are basically confronted every day with either the Iran war now and Epstein, all this stuff. We're all looking for transparency and truth. And this little tiny, Sag Harbor Village is the tiniest little village. They're like, well, yeah, we'll release the body cam footage for full transparency. And here come Justin Timberlake's lawyers, like, I don't think so. So we'll put some brakes on that transparency talk. Like, it's amazing to me in the era of Epstein that a celebrity is trying to stop information from coming out. That's amazing to me. And I'm gonna quote Mercury here, who says, JT is such an idiot. Just show the video. Mercury, I think we're going to get that video in some way, shape, or form. And you best believe you can watch it right here on the AOA podcast. Make sure you guys are subscribed so you don't miss any future updates on this story and others. Meghan Markle is at it again. The rumor is she is trying to launch her As Ever brand globally and looking to bring that those products of hers, that wonderful edible flowers and spreads, because she can't legally call them jams, to the UK. The problem with that is the king himself has a brand of products, honey, tea, jams, actual jams, not poorly produced jams that are legally need to be called spreads. The king has his own brand of this stuff. I think it's called High Grove, and he sells it, and it supports some of his charitable initiatives. So the story today is Meghan Markle's like, I'm going to launch this shit in the UK, and Harry is like, I'm trying to get a reunion going here. I'm trying to put the band back together. I'm on a mission from God. And you're out here, Elwood, fucking it all up. Like, nobody's buying your bullshit in the United States. Your Netflix show tanked. You got kicked off of Spotify because you couldn't even put together a podcast, which honestly, who can't do? This is the easiest thing in the world to do today. My kid accidentally has a podcast. Like my grandmother was alive. I bet you she would be pulling in bigger numbers than Meghan Markle. And now this asshole is like, I might launch in the UK, while her poor husband, victim, is like been trying to make up with his dad, who's fucking dying of cancer, by the way. Like, she is such a shit. I can't even take it anymore. Now, you could say this isn't true, bullshit reports and everything. I believe this 1,000,000%, because she is such an up her head up her own asshole that I could totally see her like, oh, we're popular over there, they'll buy this, because she's so desperate to be significant, and she just isn't right now. That I can totally see her doing this. And this awkwardness of her husband to be like, please don't come. Now, listen, there's probably 1 million jams being made in the UK. I mean, one more jam that doesn't sell here is not going to break the bank, but it's the optics of it. And I totally agree with this poor guy. And I want Harry to know, bro, when you wake up, we're here for you. You've got an entire support network that it will be here for you. Okay. And Prince Andrew just got as if this fucking Beatrice and all these other ones are getting kicked out of as if this family isn't dealing with enough shit. This fucking asshole has to come and be like, would you like my spreads and honey? I have overpriced edible flowers that I bought off of Amazon and marked up 400%. Would you like to buy it? Go the fuck away, idiot. Nobody, I don't know who's more stupid, Justin Timberlake or Meghan Markle, because they're in a competition to just be like, it's a race for fucking stupidity. And I don't know who's winning. I'll throw the Clintons in there too. They think we're pretty stupid. Netflix trying to buy Warner Brothers, Paramount's trying to buy Warner Brothers. It seems at this point that Netflix is out and Paramount is in. Their offer was better financially for Warner Brothers, higher amount. They had to go back and pay. It just became out of the price for Netflix. So Netflix is basically out. It has to all get approved, which a lot of people are saying because of Skydance and Paramount and CBS and their closeness to the Trump administration, it most likely will be. And they're already starting to talk about plans to merge HBO Max and Paramount Plus, which would give them a streaming service of over 200 million subscribers, which would make them one of the biggest in the world. And it would basically be rivaling Netflix and Disney Plus, who are the other big boys. And you have to start to think, are those two going to start to talk about a merger? I don't see how. I don't know how. I don't think the Disney Corporation would give up control of their library to anybody else, but perhaps they would reach some sort of an arrangement and an agreement with Netflix as far as online distribution of their material. Perhaps they would still operate Disney Plus, but maybe Disney Plus and Netflix would be on the same level because HBO and Paramount are going to merge. What they're going to call it, I have no idea. I'm suggesting HBO Paramount Max Plus Flix. That's what I'm saying. Because it rolls off the tongue as easy as HBO Max and all the other bullshit they've called that poor app over the years. Like, just call it HBO. It's just HBO. Paramount, though, does have some pretty big name recognition. As big, if not more so, than HBO. I mean, Paramount has been around longer. It's more of a brand. It's a stronger brand as far as that goes, but it's kind of hard to tell. But if those two, if this does go through, I mean, this is massive. And if you have HBO, which, by the way, has a deal, because I don't know about you, but I have HBO, Hulu, and Disney all together. So I don't know where all the streaming is going. Feels like it's just going to go into one or two big, huge companies that are just going to battle each other out. I mean, perhaps it'll be good for prices and everything like that. But there was at one time where there was so many streaming services, and now we're getting to the point where they're all doing deals with each other. Who's got this and that? And I don't know. I just don't know if it looks that great for all of us. Paramount BO. That's not going to work. Paramount HBO, that might work. That might work. Okay, Neil, I'm going to nominate this one because this is pretty good. We know Trump wants to put his name on it too. There you go. The Trump HBO Paramount Max Plus Flix. That's going to be, I'm going to subscribe to that service. That's a service I'm going to, if they got The Sopranos on it, I'm fucking there. I know some of you guys don't like when I support President Trump, but if it's Tony Soprano, I'm going to put my fucking $13.99 a month in that bucket. I'm sorry. I just can't live without that goddamn show. I just finished watching the entire series again for the fucking 900th time. And every time I watch it, I love it more than the last time. It's insane. It's insane. I like Paramount BO. Bless your heart, Lindy. Thanks for that. Appreciate that. But yeah, I don't know what to make of this, but it certainly seems like the mega streaming war that we've been kind of predicting for a little while is legitimately coming to fruition. Because as we've kind of seen with a lot of companies, I guess the closest example I could give you was SiriusXM. I mean, because I followed that having been in radio and, having almost worked at one of those companies once. It was a thing of what side are you on? And then all of a sudden it was apparent that there's not room for two of these, that they're just going to become one, and now we didn't get the huge price spike that we thought we would because the rise of podcasts have kind of kept that down a bit. And then again, you see the investment that SiriusXM has made into podcasts to try and stay relevant in that space. It's a whole thing. Now Netflix has added podcasts because again, they're trying to stay relevant and compete against YouTube. Let's not forget YouTube in all of this. It's one of our best outlets, right? There's a ton of ways that you can watch and listen to this show. But YouTube is by far our most popular. Granted, we were on Spotify as a video podcast before many others, after Joe Rogan, of course. But our growth there has not been what it's been on YouTube. Still free with ads on YouTube has still been the best outlet for this podcast and a lot of others. I mean, even Joe Rogan spoke about it. He got off YouTube and went on Spotify because he thought he would be less famous. And he'd be able to get away with more stuff and not have to deal with the bullshit that comes with fame and the attention. And then coming off of that Spotify deal where he's still distributed by Spotify, but he's back on YouTube, his numbers are huge again. And he's had to deal with a lot of other garbage that comes with that. But YouTube is still the thing, and we've seen Netflix adopt YouTube's thumbnail, algorithms and best practices and stuff like that to keep people on that platform and watching. I mean, it's an amazing time where the holders of this IP and this content are kind of becoming huge, massive, oversized conglomerates, but you still have the little guy on YouTube that it's basically equal, can compete. Everybody comes home from a tough day at work, puts their smart TV on, and they have to decide which app they're going to select, Disney Plus, Hulu, or YouTube. And on YouTube, you can watch everything from this to watching marbles race. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy to think how some of that content works. Frank makes fun of this all the time. He's like, we're doing all this research. We do these huge shows. We're on for, an hour and a half, 2 hours at a time. We're killing ourselves. We're busting our balls. And there's some idiot who just holds the camera up and he goes, oh, did you know this? And then that goes crazy viral. He's like, what the fuck are we doing? And it's the truth. It's the democratization of content, which is both good and bad. Good when it's like you don't have to go through gatekeepers to get great content anymore. Bad when you have idiots like this Kiki who's out there embarrassing the shit out of herself in front of Nancy Guthrie's home where they're trying to find that poor missing old lady, So it's pretty unfortunate when it comes down to that. But this Netflix thing, we've kind of scraped it a little bit, talked about it. The Warner Brothers purchase, I should say. But to me, I want to talk about it when I know it's going to impact you guys. It's going to impact me. I'm paying for it. Like, I don't know which way I'm going to go next, but I feel like I just did like a whole little audit of my online streaming services. I got rid of Apple TV. I only really buy that when there's a new show that comes on that I want to watch, because otherwise I think it's pretty useless. I used to subscribe to Paramount, but again, pretty useless for me. I got enough shows on all the other things. I popped onto Peacock for the Olympics and the Super Bowl. I'm back off that now. And I always had NBC, but Fubo, the other streaming service that I pay for, lost NBC to a war with them. So I had to go buy the Peacock for a little while there to get the Super Bowl and the Olympics, so it's going to affect all of us, obviously, in a different way. So we'll keep our eye on that story along with all the other ones that we're keeping our eye on. The important thing is, even though each one of us has only 2 eyes, we got a lot of eyes on a lot of different things. That's the point. We got our eyes on some stuff, so you can close your eyes and get some rest, and then you open up those beautiful, gorgeous eyes and you come and hang with us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right around 8:30 Eastern Standard Time for the live podcast right here on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Then, of course, you can watch it later on Spotify and all the other video platforms. We're on Amazon Music. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're excited that Apple Podcasts is getting video. We're trying to figure out how to be one of the first ones on that platform video-wise. So as soon as we have that news for you, we'll give it to you. AnthonyOnAir.com has links for all our socials, so you can follow us on your favorite social platform, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is. We put all our stuff out. We put blogs out on AnthonyOnAir.com, so make sure you subscribe there. Discord link for the show is in the description below. The conversation continues on our Discord. And, of course, if you want some more access and just to support the show overall, join our members-only area. We put exclusive content up there all the time.
Show me potato salad.
I will see you guys on Wednesday.
Maybe we should go now.
Go ahead.